Thanks for coming back again, Holger. It's nice to see you. I'll tell you the truth, I don't know a lot about CERN. All I know is what was told in the papers and stuff like that. But I have suspicions. Obviously, I think it's obviously some sort of Stargate. Is that what you found out, or anything like that? Is it some sort of portal?
It is a portal. Yes, it is a Stargate. People don't understand what Stargates are. We always assume that they're these magical things where we're going to step into other worlds because of the movie Stargate that was made. But a Stargate or portal actually gives you access to other dimensions, gives you access to other worlds. And I'm going to try and explain it here for people so that they can actually understand how do we actually use it, because these things are around us. We are portals. We don't realize that we have access to portals, but we also are portals. Each of us are portals. So I'll take you through some pictures and a bit of a talk here, and I'll actually show what actually is it that we assume that CERN or the people there in Switzerland are doing weird and wonderful things, but it's actually, people don't actually realize how we're tied into it. When we talk of virtual reality, we always are basing things from this place. But however, when you step into those other places, a dream, for example, when you step into a dream, you are not basing it from this physical body. You're basing it from that position. Now, from that position, you can step into another reality. Yes, you certainly can. And you can go deeper and deeper. And that is part of the talk that I'm going to share with you, is how there are actually levels. So while we think we reach one portal, you can reach many portals. You just keep going through them, and it depends on you how far you want to go in. Yes, correct.
It sounds like the Matrix, doesn't it? Just like the Matrix, where they're all plugged in, and the Earth is like a terrible place. But would you really want to live in that Earth, or would you rather be? It's like the blue pill or the red pill, isn't it?
When we are told about virtual reality or these other planes or these other dimensions, we always view it from the physical, from where we are, which is a bad mistake, because that's not where it occurs. That's not the start point. So we're always basing or founding everything on where we are. And that's not the place to be. Like with Matrix, as you said, they were in that ship, the Nebuchadnezzar, and everything was taking place from there. But it's not a physical, it's not our physicality. In actual fact, we are a projection. Where we are right now is a projection of who we really are. So we assume we're going to project it from here. No, we're not projecting from here. I'm trying to put this into comprehensible wording. We actually are based somewhere else. We are not in this physical reality. We are based somewhere else. And it's from that point that if we can start from there and move on, not this physical world, then yes, you would find an easier journey. It's very difficult at this stage just to jump off from that platform. But we shouldn't be comprehending or describing reality from here. Reality is, you go to other places. So what's the definition of reality? Is this reality, or when we're dreaming, because some people can actually die in dreams, or as you say, virtual reality? Which is reality? Is this reality, this physical body? Yet if you think about it, the soul is eternal. If the soul's eternal, well, if this body only lasts for an average of 75 years, which is where's reality?
Yeah. It's hard to distinguish, isn't it?
It's because we've been brainwashed to always perceive things and perceive life from this material plane. And that's what I'm hoping to do, is to help people free themselves, where we don't use our earth position as a reference point. That's really the secret. If you want to get into spiritual life, if you want to get into metaphysics, if you want to get into reality, is to realize that you don't use this body as a reference point. Like thinking, when you're coming up with a new invention, when you're coming up with a new idea, you put yourself in that position. You don't operate from, well, what do I have around me, and build up from there. No, we conceive it from the mind. So you've got to question to yourself, where in mind are we? Not where do we go? Where in that moment, once we've conceived or comprehended a picture, where are we? And we assume it's here, but it's very simple. Open your eyes and look around you, and you'll quickly realize it's not here. We're somewhere else. So we're in two places at the same time without realizing. And in actual fact, you can be in many places at once. I hope it's not too much for people I hope it doesn't confuse too much. But we're in more than one place at any one time. Right. Memories is one place. So when you look at memories and then you look at ideas, those are different places. Or you can go in a memory to a past place. You're talking with somebody, oh, how was your holiday? And you will describe your holiday. Are you here or are you in the holiday? Those are different realities, if you want to call it that, different places. Dreams are another part of you that accesses other dimensions for a purpose. Very few people actually understand the value of dreams.
When you dream, do you think maybe that's your, because you do remember, but do you think that's your astral body that you see in your dreams that can't run away from things, or, you know, is that your astral projection?
Yes.
Your soul, if you like.
No, it's not your soul. That's a very good question, Andrew, because you're now starting to ask, what's the difference between soul, astral projection, mental projection? You have to start asking yourself, these are different bodies that we have. That's why you can be in more than one place at once in the same moment. You can be somewhere, like when a person's chatting, having a talk with you, you're in a conversation, but you disappear, you daydream, or you go off to another place. You're physically here, but yet you're also somewhere else mentally. So that's already two different places you exist in the moment. And that other place of a mental world, we assume it's less tangible, it's less real. So we always assume this is the real world. But in actual fact, there are different places that are real. Dreams, like you said, where do dreams, and how come they give us premonitions, future forecasts? How come sometimes you'll need to deal with some trauma that you're having, so you'll have a dream about that. So how come you can fix yourself and remedy yourself through a dream? Then you go into meditation, and meditation, you can come up with some fantastic stuff that they actually bring down into this world, this physical reality, this physical dimension. So we're actually taking stuff from another dimension into this dimension, or we're accessing from this physical body, we're accessing a traumatic situation to heal ourselves. So then we're taking something from here into another dimension. No, it's not part of your physical body. It's what drives your physical body.
Right.
So you get soul. Let me explain it on levels. You'll start with this physical body. Then you have a soul which controls or coordinates or directs this whole thing, this whole physical body. Then higher than that, you've got something called your spirit. Your spirit is, let's call it your core, the thing that drives the soul, which in turn drives the physical body. Then you go to something called an oversoul, a higher soul, a super soul, higher self, whatever you want to call it. That's another level. That is yet another dimension of ourselves. So we've got those basic 4 levels, which we can access vastly different planes, vastly different dimensions from each other. So each one accesses totally different places. So just on your physical body, when you have a look at your physical body, it accesses what you can see as the physical stuff around you. Try not to put thought into it, and you can see the variety you've got in the physical body. But now just add thought into that. Thought is mind. It uses the dimension or the vehicle of mind, the vehicle of ether or space. Now, combine that with the physical body, now you start bringing in 2 dimensions, you start crossing over. But we don't think of these as separate, yet we can benefit from both.
Right. I heard like Saddam Hussein. I did a video about this the other month about Saddam Hussein having a Stargate underneath. Now it was all reports, obviously. There's no proof, but what sort of things can you do in a Stargate? Because I thought if you had access to a Stargate, it'd make you the most powerful person in the world. But obviously, Saddam Hussein didn't do anything, or didn't defend himself with anything, or didn't escape. So what is it? Can't they control it? Is that the thing? Once you like I remember you saying like you need a guide and everything, then you can't control where you go to, can you? So was he scared of going through?
The movie Stargate portrayed it poorly in this sense. We assume when we enter a Stargate that we're going to go with this physical body into another place, and that is not what happens. A Stargate, if you can imagine, if you're going to travel through the stars or travel into wormholes, into different dimensions, you've got to use a different body. You're not going to use this physical body. So that's an interesting thing when you ask, well, there was a Stargate, an alleged Stargate under Saddam Hussein's place. If you check right now on the internet, do you know how many Stargates are present on Earth? How many? CERN, we understand CERN. CERN is a Stargate. Do you know how many Hadron Colliders or of these Stargates we actually currently have on Earth right now? We have over 30,000 right now.
Where are they? Well, I know that you can't tell me all of them, but are they in all over the world, or are they spread in certain countries?
They're all over the world. They're all over the world. I mean, China wants to build the next Large Hadron Collider, which is twice the size of our current CERN in Geneva.
Right. And the bigger a Stargate, the more things you can bring through it, or what? What does it matter?
We're not going to bring things through it. This is the story, the sensationalism that's being put out. What are we bringing through it? But Stargates, Andrew, let me maybe just fast track in my talk here. CERN, let me see if I can actually share. I want to actually share something with you. How to configure GPRS connection. Look here on the left-hand side. Can you see CERN, the CERN symbol there?
Yeah.
Okay. Now this is GPRS, which is our phones. So you now have to start asking yourself, what has CERN and our phones got to do with us? So you now need to start questioning to yourself, if our phones, our cell phones, are connected with CERN, then what are they using to either bring through or take out into other worlds? What are we bringing through? So is it that CERN? So I'm jumping in the talk to try and give an idea or what's actually going on. CERN is using our phones because they're directly connected with us. So you have to ask yourself, are these things, our phones, do we only access, or do they only access us when we actually phone? Or is there a deeper invisible connection of which we do not know about?
It's funny you mentioned that, Holger, because that was also in Elon Musk's talk. And he was saying we're quite, we're like androids at the minute because we're connected to our phone. The only thing is it's not connected to us physically. Every time someone asks you a question that you don't know or anything, you turn to your phone straight away. And he said eventually they'll install a chip in our brain or something like that, where all you have to do is think about the answer, and it'll go on Google, search the answer, and then everything will be there straight away. So you don't even have to pick a phone up anymore. You'll have instant. And this is where he says it starts getting dangerous, because when certain people start doing that, then everyone has to do it, or they can't keep up.
They're beyond that already, Andrew. We are already intimately connected with our phone through the ether. Right. It's not just when you actually physically speaking to your phone that you're connected with it. These are actually rhythms, biorhythms, electrical impulses. Our brains, a quarter of our nervous system sits within our head. Now, if a quarter of our nervous system sits within our head, what do you think our nervous system is? To put it very crudely, our nervous system is our electrical system. Now, a quarter of our nervous system sits inside our head. So then you have to start asking yourself, if these are all these wireless systems, and people assume we're not connected into this thing, we're connected in. Why do you think these things, and this is also, I hope that it doesn't, I hope people can start, whether they're going to view the video as a whole, but all these catastrophes, all these world things that are happening, let's say in the sky, the bad weather, these insect swarms, these weird, what we call natural, or we think they're natural disasters, or where the insects are going mad. What do you think's bringing that about? We are all connected in via non-physical, via an electrical system, a wireless system. We are transmitting. I mean, you can walk into a room and you can feel the energy. You can, I mean, that's where they said you can walk and you get the vibe. Andrew, nobody's questioning. We're not there yet. We're assuming, because we believe what the media tells us, that it's going to get there. We're already there. We're already connected into everything. This is why, because our thoughts, the reason for a lot of these natural disasters, what we think are natural disasters that are coming about, the reason that they occur is it's not just because of CERN or these HARP. HARP is another system. You've heard of HARP, that crowd up in North America who control the weather. Those are all done with, that's done with sound as well, not just ether waves. Now, what if we're connected in, and all the movies and all the propaganda and all the sensationalism we're watching, what if we are being controlled with our minds to all of us as a group get together and we all generate the same things, and we are the ones that are generating these things as a whole, not a specific or single organization? What if we are already being used? I mean, 5G. Think about 5G. People don't know what 5G, the new cell phone system that's busy being launched. What is 5G? I mean, fifth generation of what?
Well, it makes you think. If you look at some of the apps that you can get on the iPhone and things like that, now as like a level machine and all that. So that phone weren't meant for level. You know, it weren't meant for a level for like to use on a building site. But they've somehow used technology to make it work that way. So they can download anything into that phone and make it do things that it were never meant to design to do. But very cleverly, you never know, that piece of glass when you touch it to your face, that could be like reading your mind and looping in your brain and how you think and everything, downloading things onto a computer.
Yeah, the psychology of these electronic devices goes way beyond what's being put out in the media, way beyond. We are responsible for some of the things that are happening in the world because our thoughts, if we watch horror movies, we watch these thrillers, we watch the news, we watch Hollywood pushing out its whatever movies are the flavor of the month. When we all start thinking along that sort of line, how many times have you gone back to school? And this was before, well, when I talk of my time, before we had internet and WhatsApp, you'd go home, watch a movie, and then you'd all get back to school on Monday, and you'd all describe, yeah, well, I saw that movie for the... What do you think that group consciousness is doing? Our group consciousness is generating certain things in the world right now. It's not that it's just somewhere else. Elon Musk has already said that the crossover between humanness and the internet, or that electronic system, it's already here, Andrew. So we're already intermingling. So we always assume it's going one way. What if it's us, our thoughts being controlled, directed, and we are pushing out certain wavelengths to create certain things as a group consciousness. Nobody questions that.
Yeah. Who would be doing that? Our leaders, or would that be like a secret organization?
Learn. I'm wondering, that's a big question. That's why when you look at CERN, and I don't know how many people have actually looked at when CERN actually started. The concept of CERN started in 1949. So if we think it's a recent thing, we don't have the information. And then they started building the first one in 1954. And then you have to start thinking to yourself, to answer your question, then you have to start thinking to yourself, so if it was already happening how many years back, what is CERN? Is CERN an external, I mean, apart from us? I'm trying to describe, is CERN something outside of us that is built in Geneva and these other 30,000 hadron colliders? Are they something outside of them, of us? Or are we more intimately connected than we realize? That we are actually generating some of these things, and that the whole planet or the consciousness of the planet is being guided by something else. And I'm not talking about the elite. I'm talking about beyond the elite.
Can I ask
I'm talking about...
Sorry, can I just ask you a question about CERN?
Yeah.
Can they, and that they're building CERN for a reason? Is it just to, is there only one place they can visit? Are they building it to visit a certain place? And also, if you picked up a Stargate and moved it, would it still work, or does it have to be in a certain place in the world?
No. Okay, let's start there. When you look at a wormhole, what is a wormhole? What does it do? Where does it go? What can it do? Now, we go to the Red Indian philosophy, and they had totem poles. Now, nobody actually questions what a totem pole is. We just assume it's our spirit animal. But a totem pole is much more than that. If you have a look, there are different dimensions on it. Why do you have the different creatures in different levels? But we always say, what's your totem animal? And we choose one. However, the totem pole clearly tells you there's more than one dimension. I mean, how many animals sit on top of each other in a totem pole? When you look at the different animals, people don't realize those different animals are different dimensions. Because we always question, what is your totem animal? And we talk of one. Yet a totem pole in the Red Indian philosophy has more than one animal. And nobody questions, why is there more than one animal on there? So what is it? Is it the different animals for the leaders of that tribe? No, it's not. Because what actually happens is you will travel through that totem pole, what is called a wormhole. Because, I mean, think about it, it's hollow. It's got things on it. So you're traveling up this wormhole. Odin, I mean, the Norse mythology, we love the Norse mythology. So they've got that big tree, Yggdrasil, which again is a tree. It's all wood. It's alive. It shows traveling of sorts. Mm. Then you'll look at the Kabbalistic system of the tree of life. And again, we've got different levels. We don't have just one. It's not just a single pole with a destination or a place on top. So now when you want to ask me, where does CERN take us, or what is it accessing? Is it accessing one dimension? No. So a wormhole, let's start off with a totem pole, for example, the tree of life, whatever you want to call it. There's many different trees of life that we're all talking about, and nobody's actually digging into the philosophical aspects. We're always assuming it's a material, physical thing. But think about it, a tree, you will rise up, and then you'll usually have that T-piece on the top. Now, the T-piece on the top shows you've traveled upright, you've traveled vertically up into somewhere, then you reach a certain plane. And from that plane, you spread outwards. That's why a tree, the tree of life, is usually considered the T. And then at that place where it joins, where the T, the vertical piece joins the horizontal piece, that specific point is called the eye of God. Again, what does that mean? The all-seeing eye, the big brother. What's it accessing? It's accessing into, you've gone through how many dimensions and now you just travel in a lateral way. Now you have to ask yourself, so how many different places are we accessing? So no, it does not go to one place. It goes to many places. It's going to be a multifunctional thing. The new landline telephone cables, before copper cable used to be limited to a certain number of telephone lines. Now with these optic fibers, we're just pushing that into the thousands. It's the same with a wormhole. People assume a wormhole is only one, like a train. It's only going to take you down one path. No, it's not. It's going to access multiple dimensions at once, multiple planes at once. And we're all tapping into it with our thoughts, putting thoughts in because of our emotions, our states of mind, our depression, our anger, our happiness, our joy. We're all accessing these things, but they're trying to control us through the media to all be thinking a certain way so that the general masses will access a certain plane. And from there, not CERN, but all of us bring through down to this physical plane a certain consciousness.
I really liked how you described a portal being like a telephone. Like when you're speaking through telephone, your voice doesn't die and then reappear at the other end. It just travels, doesn't it? And really, your voice can be in two different places at the same time, because you could be speaking it and it's coming out the other end of the phone.
Astral projection or meditation, dreams, we don't go to a certain, like a railway station, we don't go to the railway station or the train station and dock on from a certain point. The advantage with our mind is we can access anywhere in the world, in the universe, in the galaxy. We can access anywhere from the very position we stand. So when you talk of these optic fibers, they are limited to that specific mode of travel. However, Andrew, the truth is, when you walk into a room and there's a vibe, you can feel a certain vibe. Where at a party, let's use a party, people at a party, you can feel that vibe is everywhere. Yet we assume it must run along an optic fiber. No, it doesn't. These energies run in all different dimensions, sort of explosion, what we call the fourth dimension. It's an explosion going out. Then you'll turn into the fifth dimension where it reverses it and it comes back. So we've got two opposites. So you can send out your energy, your frequency in different, not just the optical fiber. The optical fiber, if you want to understand that, the optical fiber is one of the things of EMF because it's a current, specific current traveling in a certain direction, which is why we will use cell phones. The media, the people who are in control are pushing a specific agenda, a specific consciousness through this specific conduit. And from a certain point, it then puts it out. However, we are also here where we are putting our energies out in different directions. We've got different modes of travel at once.
Yeah. Can I ask you one more thing? Europeans, or if you like, our ancestors, they appeared on Earth 6,000 years ago with full agricultural technology and everything. So what's going on there? Did they come through a portal?
Short answer, yes. But it goes deeper than that. When we pray, let's use the Christian perspective. When we pray and we get an answer, number one, who spoke with us? And number two, where did it come from? How did that information get here? So it's in reverse. We're always assuming going from this way, going out. But how did that information get to us? So when you talk of these blue-eyed people, we're assuming they all came just down in the physical body. But I've already talked about it in one of my previous videos about the constellation, the Seven Sisters or the Pleiades, which is the origin of consciousness. The origin of consciousness means that the bulk of those beings, the original going back far in time, those original beings did not have bodies. So now we start talking of possession. So now you have to start thinking to yourself, possession we always assume as a negative. But yet in church, religious church, we talk of the Spirit took me. The Spirit inspired me. So now that's the good side. And then we can have the bad side. So we're always assuming that it's, you know, to be possessed. Possessed is a very negative connotation. We're always assuming that to have something come into you is a bad thing because of the media, what they put out in the movies.
So let me just get this right. So what you're trying to say there is that they might have created human bodies on Earth and then sort of transmitted wirelessly from their bodies to Earth, or did they not have bodies to start with?
Right in the beginning, they didn't have bodies to start with. They then generated their own bodies. It's the same way as we will create. We will invent something. We will come up with a thought, and then we accumulate material matter, and we start putting something together until we have a motor car, for example. So we will assemble it, but we've got the concept from, let's call it on a consciousness level. We then bring it down and we say, all right, within this plane, what could we use to build this idea? But first you've got the consciousness level, Pleiadian level. They come down, they have, the Pleiadians are pure consciousness. They don't have bodies. The original Pleiadians don't have bodies. They then look at what materials are available to them in that place. Yeah, on Earth, we've got these different elements. Periodic table, the different elements that we have on Earth. So then from those elements relative to that place, they built themselves a body. So then you can say they incarnated. And that's the same thing that's happening with us. So they would have their consciousness put into us, and they will sometimes either work through us, or else they themselves have come down and generated their own bodies. Yes.
So why did they choose weak bodies? Not like that, but that can die, you know, within 100 years, get diseases. Why didn't they choose like to live forever? Or why didn't they design the body a bit better? Because we're just the same as, so I'm taking it the Pleiadians come here, the Anunnaki was already here. They'd already created humans. So why did they go for the same sort of being? Did they just come down and think, well, this works on this planet, let's just copy what they did?
Going back to the beginning of the video, when we are in more than one place, any one place at any one time, you need to realize that we've got different parts of ourselves in different places. So we've got our spirit is in one place, our soul or higher soul is in another place. The soul of this body is not in this physical body, it's around it, but it's not limited to this body, which you're talking astral projection, which your soul can leave. So it's actually detached from this body if you choose. And then you got the physical body. So you got 4 different dimensions that we're already operating on. And then we still got mind. Mind is just the medium through which we travel, the wormhole, the blank space.
Yeah.
Now, relative to what you want to experience, you're going to build something. I'm always talking from a masculine point. I'm always talking of cars and that. Let's talk from a woman's point of view. A woman wants to make a cake. So when she makes a cake, she will usually go and have a look what's in her kitchen and make a cake relative to that. Or she'll buy ingredients, especially for a specific thing she wants to make, because that specific cake is going to give you a particular taste for a particular ceremony, for a particular party. So it's relative to what you wish to achieve that you create that body in that place for that time. So you don't wish to have this body be riddled with sickness, be riddled with disease, be riddled with pain and suffering, because you only want to experience or comprehend something for that period of time. And once it's up, you leave, you depart, you leave it and you move on. The same as what I said in one of my previous videos, we've been here, the human, we've been here for 6,000 years. Where do we come from before then? So why are we here? We've come to learn and experience a specific thing. But when we talk of we, who is the we? Because it's not this body. So you have to ask yourself, okay, so who is the we when we said we want to come and experience life on this place called Earth? And what did we want to experience? So the question is, who are we? Who is the I that wants to experience that? So we come down just for a specific time period to experience that. 6,000 years. We've all experienced it and we've had enough, and now we're moving on. Come on. So we're getting ready to move on.
So is that the Europeans, or do you mean the whole of humanity?
The bulk of humanity, yes. Yes. Right. We've got what we've needed, yeah. We've been through that little experience.
It's just amazing to me that that Europeans, especially ones with blue eyes, were never seen in the world until 6,000 years ago. That's what the all the reports said, and that's why they call us the Caucasians, because the first time we were spotted was in the Caucasus Mountains. So I just can't understand where we came from. I'm just trying to understand. Obviously, it's something to do with the Pleiades.
All right, the history that we are looking at, which you're talking about, is actually the rhesus negative history. The bulk of the history that's taught in history books is the rhesus negative history. So when they talk of the blue-eyed people, they talk of the rhesus negative people that rocked up here 6,000 years ago.
Well, that would have been the reptilian. They're related to somehow reptilian lineage, aren't they?
Yes.
Well, that would have been the Anunnaki who was already on Earth, wasn't it? Yes. It's so confusing because I think someone's mixing up like something's going on, because if the Anunnaki was here and they was somehow related to the Draconians, and then the Pleiadians came and there was a war. So I just can't understand if they were all related to each other. Yeah,
they're all related.
Right.
They are all related.
So do the Draconians control the Pleiadians as well as the Anunnaki?
No. If you go back further in history, you will learn that the Pleiadians, consciousness, that defines consciousness. And you have to think logically, not everything, on the planet of duality, on the plane of duality, you're going to have good and you're going to have bad. So you have to start thinking to yourself, if the source, if the origin of consciousness is going to create life or create something that talks, communicates, interacts, it can't just generate one side, because then it's not infinite. It's not balanced. So something generated both sides, the negative and the positive. So we will consider the Anunnaki as the negative, and we will consider the Pleiadians as the positive. So you need that interplay of the two in order for something to come about, something to activate, something to generate. So we're always considering that, well, I must avoid my bad side. But a negative energy has its place, like nighttime. Nighttime is generally considered the dark or the negative, and daylight considered the day or the positive. But you need both. So when that consciousness was created, you need to realize that the consciousness, when they created consciousness, they created two types of consciousness: good consciousness, if you want to put it at a level of words, and bad consciousness. But now you have to go before then, and you have to think, okay, so what came before that? Which is where you're going now. So the Pleiadians and the Anunnaki were created around the same.
Sorry, I missed that last bit.
Both levels of consciousness, the good and the bad, the Pleiadians and the Anunnaki, were created at roughly the same time, so that you could have the two opposites that now start interacting and generate different effects or results in life.
And is this Hebrews and Islam?
Well, Islam is a human thing. Islam is a thing related to Earth, yeah.
And also the clean people, like the Anunnaki used to call themselves.
Yeah, the fact that they shapeshifters lead people to question, well, how can they change their bodies? What is it that they can change their bodies? But we have to realize who we are. You see, we've forgotten who we are. We don't realize how we can change our bodies. I've described to people when I take them through meditation. When you go through meditation and you're traveling through these wonderful or to these wonderful places, have you ever just in that meditation stopped and looked at yourself? In a dream, have you ever looked at yourself? I mean, you can look down and you can look at what are you wearing? What do you look like? But we don't consider that because we don't generally realize we are actually another form. We are not always in this material form, this human form. We're actually in another form. So then you have to start realizing, but we have the potential for shape-shifting. We think it's limited to a specific to the Anunnaki. No, it's not. We just have forgotten, and it's purposely been taken away from us to not forget or to have forgotten that, to not realize what we are. That's the agenda that's being pushed. But that's why a lot of these videos are now coming out and telling people, but wait a minute, that lost history, that lost past, our ancestry, is being brought to the fore by who? Somebody's got the agenda to bring it down.
What
this is what's been lost.
Sorry, what religion would you say as it closest to the truth?
There's a big difference between religion and spirituality. You see, religion is a control system. So I understand what you're saying. So then you're asking what would be the philosophy? What
like
would be the mind?
I hear a lot about Gnosticism, but I don't really know much about it. But that's supposedly the origins of all religions.
Yeah, Gnosticism means knowledge. What the greatest book from where information comes, how to build everything that you want on the physical earth, is the Indian philosophy that's called Vedas, the Vedas, V-E-D-A, Veda. Veda means knowledge. The emerald tablets, what are they? They're simply knowledge. So if you talk of the original religion, if you want to talk on those levels, the original religion is consciousness, but consciousness doesn't explain very nicely to people what consciousness is. A better term than consciousness, but obviously try and now verbalize it and put it out for the masses and see how you can improve it. A better word for consciousness is awareness. That's the original language. That's the original religion. That's the original philosophy. That's the original lifestyle, is awareness. So when the universe is aware of itself, what it can do, and it's limitless.
Have you ever heard of Zoroastrianism?
Yes, yes.
Because I've been doing some research about that lately. That seems a bit... can you tell us a bit about that, if you know about it?
Andrew, they all go, when you look at all these philosophies are trying to tell us, doesn't matter which philosophy, they're all trying to get you to the point of realize that you are consciousness, what I'm talking of awareness. But if I try and describe to people what's awareness, awareness is much more descriptive, but it's not a universal word to try and say, well, you know, the universe is aware of itself. So we just talk of consciousness. Consciousness is a very poor terminology, a very poor word to describe the power, the potency, or the ability of energy. So when you realize awareness, and that is where we are supposed to be, just be aware. We're so locked into the internet that we think that's our only source of information, our only source of knowledge. But if you realize that you can access, like we're talking with CERN, these portals, these other places, if you can realize that you can access it because of awareness. So in my previous video, I said, can people just comprehend that other dimensions possibly exist? If you can comprehend that other dimensions possibly exist, that's called awareness. You're not limited to the internet then. Then you're going to think to yourself, so how do I access those? You don't need the internet to access those wormholes. CERN doesn't need the electronic system to access those other dimensions. They are using our brains. They are using our energy to access other dimensions. So as a group consciousness on this planet, we are helping that system, whoever built that, whatever built that system of CERN, we are helping push and bring stuff through. It's not a particular foundation, a particular organization. We are locked into it.
It's crazy, isn't it? Like, because when you say about the spirit and being in two places at once, it just sounds like virtual reality. It does. It just sounds like it. And when you say like the astral body and stuff, well, is that not like just the tether what connects you to the person that you're controlling or whatever? You know, it's crazy. I keep thinking I'm going to wake up one day and I'm going to be like, wow, you know, and it's going to be like, I've been in this room for 5 minutes, and imagine all your life coming back to you in that certain amount of time, and you've been playing this game for 5 minutes where it's in your head, it seems like you've been living for 60 years. I could just imagine it. Crazy. And then that minute when you wake up and you just remember your whole life, like, and just think, whoa, what was I doing there? And that's all just a lie. Will it not devastate you? Would it not emotionally like devastate you? Like, if they did things like that?
It will devastate you if you want to accept that you're human. I would say that to consider yourself and believe yourself to be human is the most detrimental mindset you can have.
You could look like that thing at the end of Men in Black, you know, where they're playing with the marbles and they have all like jellyfish hands and stuff. It could be that.
Right.
You know, you could be a slug. It's crazy. Because like you say, the reality that you'd create for yourself if you was going into a virtual reality machine, it'd be better than the one that you're living in, obviously, or you wouldn't be doing it. So
look, that's a good example, Andrew. Take how many games in those games. Now they're very limited. Let's look at any of those games, those virtual reality games. There's a menu on which you will choose your weapons, you will choose your abilities, you will choose your intensity, you will choose your body. You will choose. You've got a menu.
And you hold a controller in your hand. Now, if you look at that thing, what the Tibetans use, like the thing that, you know, it looks like round at the edge and then thin in the middle. That's called a door. That could be like a Wii controller, if you like, you know.
That thing with the claws on the end.
Yeah. No. You have it sometimes has a claw. It's thin in the middle, and then it goes out at the end. You hold it when you're meditating and everything like that.
Yes. Yeah, that's called a dorje. D-O-R-G-E.
And then I've just remembered another film, the one with Leonardo DiCaprio in it, where do you remember where they tip him to bring him back awake?
Which movie?
I can't remember what it's. Is it Incision or something like that, where they go into people's minds and they try and rob them?
I vaguely remember that movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but they tip them, don't they, to bring them back awake? But that could be another way of, you know, like the bowl what the Tibetans use to make that sound. That might be a way of bringing you back to your body. Or just making you realise that your body is back there. You're just in a virtual reality game, or whatever you like to call it.
Okay, let me help you. In your original state, you don't have a body. That's the first part, if I can help you there. All of us, every single being, every single living thing, its original state does not have a body. So if that helps people on a level to comprehend, okay, so what do I look like in my original form?
So they don't have any feeling in the body and stuff, and it's just energy.
Yeah, and energy is also it's a very, let's call it a very derogatory term to describe us. If we say we energy, you know, that doesn't sound very, It's not very enamoring.
Energy
to think, well, I'm just so, let's go. Our original state, we have no bodies. All of us now living, everything, every animal, every mineral, every plant, its original state does not have a body on another dimension. We brought ourselves down here through the super soul, through spirit, and then generated a soul, and that soul generated a body. So the body is the last thing of relative to which dimension you're going to travel into. The body is the last thing that you get. So now you have to start asking yourself, okay, so where do I come from originally? Then we still go within this place of where we consider, okay, so I'm from whichever star system, constellation you want to work on. I'm from that constellation. And so we study, and we'll go on the internet and we'll see, well, what do those people look like? What are their traits? You know, what are they doing? What's their purpose? Or what are they teaching? What's their lessons? What do they come to master? But again, that's not your original state. Your original state I don't know how many people have, I assume a lot of the people who watch these videos watch something called fringe science. Now, fringe science deals with these other dimensions that go back and back and back. Now, when you go to that fringe science or that original place, they're always talking of the observer. So you have to ask, where is the observer? And in many philosophies is asked, where you looking through your eyes, where are you as that observer? Because they can't find it in the physical body. So where is that observer? Then you have to realize that observer is not even here. It's not even in this dimension. The observer is in another dimension. That's your original form. That's your original state, what you like to call energy. And that goes even beyond consciousness. It's even before consciousness. Wow. So that's who we actually are. So we could certainly study, yeah, which constellation, which planet am I from, which star system am I from? I'm a star seed child. Which one? Oh, and then we say, oh, I belong to so-and-so. Go deeper.
Mm. Wow. Brilliant.
I want to, let's just go to, let's look a bit in history now at the moment as to what happened with, we're fearing that the human life is coming to an end on Earth here, that humanity is coming to a close. So if we look at it on that level, then you have to start asking yourself, so is this the first time that that's happened? And then you have to ask yourself, what happened to the Aztec people? What happened to the Mayan people? What happened to the Inca people? And all these people, and presently, very sadly, what's happening to the Red Indian people? So you have to start asking yourself, why are these...
all came from caves, underground?
No,
yes, come on.
No, there's no such thing as the caveman on Earth. That story of the caveman does not exist.
No, I mean, if you ask a scientist, that's what they'll say. But
if you finish with your experience down here, we've got to leave, and there's a general shift now where we came 6,000 years ago as the human, and we're about to shift off and move off to somewhere else. So like I say, with the Aztecs, the Incas, the Mayan people, the Red Indians, that closing down, that shutting down of that species moving off to its next place, next destination, to go and do whatever it wants to go and do there, whatever it needs to do there. You have to ask yourself, were they just simply destroyed by somebody conquering them, somebody dominating, ruling, controlling them? Or was there another reason why they left? We assume it's like the conquistadors or when the Spanish came through and they wiped out a lot of the Aztecs and what have you. You have to ask yourself, why did they what was it that brought them to a close? And this is the hope that I'm wanting to give to people when they look at CERN and you start realizing the depth of CERN. If you realize that CERN, the whole foundation, the whole organization, the entire system runs on a consciousness level, you then have to ask yourself, is the human species, as much as we think it's otherwise, is the human species evolved consciously to such a degree that we no longer fit here and it's now our consciousness that's determining our end, not somebody else? You have to start asking yourself, who's determining that we leave? Is it somebody else or is it us?
What do you think?
Well, we've raised our consciousness. We're busy. Everybody's raising our consciousness. Now, people think, okay, so what is this raised consciousness? What is defined raised consciousness? Another way of saying raised consciousness is to speed up your frequency. Now, if we're speeding up our frequency, Andrew, we are elevating or moving up higher. The frequency that the human level of consciousness has reached no longer fits here or is of no use here. We are transcending this plane. So as much as we think we are the victims, once we realize we are consciousness and we are raising our consciousness, we are readying ourselves to leave, which brings you back to the question, what really destroyed the Incas, the Mayan people, all those tribes and cultures that left? Was it that some conquering crowd came in? Or was it that the consciousness of that people, that race of people, was such that they've moved on? And we assume they got conquered by somebody else.
I suppose. But maybe they were that brutal because they used to like ritual sacrifice all the time, didn't they? The Incas and everything. Maybe their own people just turned against them and thought, we'll join the side of the Spanish. Why would we want to be on the side of someone who's going to massacre us, you know, and chop our heads off and throw them down a load of steps? You know, it's like that's all they knew until they met the European man, and then probably once they started learning about culture and things like that. Because I was watching a documentary just before about they used to play like a game of football where the winners of the game used to get sacrificed. So it's like, wow, no wonder they didn't last long. Imagine if we was living in that sort of civilization now.
So the winners lose their life.
It was, yeah, they can't distinguish because obviously the translations and everything like that, but it was either the winners or losers lost their life, but they seem to think it might have been the winners because it was a great honor to be sacrificed. And crazy.
Okay. All right, I'll deal with sacrifice shortly. Think of it on this level. I don't like to use the word master because we haven't come here to master anything. We've come here to experience this material plane. That's one of the reasons why we've come down here. People are always asking, what's my mission? As a group consciousness, we have raised our consciousness to such that we no longer can explore this place any further than where it is, because we are now integrating our material existence with our spiritual or that higher dimension. So we are now readying ourselves. Now that we've got to this level, we've reached the top level of the game, these computer games. And you'll keep going through your levels. I mean, just look at it.
Can I just say about conscious as well? Am I conscious even if I think I might be in a virtual reality? Is that consciousness? Just to acknowledge that maybe something is controlling this body. What's
that's
not
why I say the word
like me.
Yeah, no, everybody think of it, Andrew. That's why I say a better word than consciousness, a much better word to use over consciousness is rather use the word awareness. You're aware that you could be in a simulation. You're aware that you could be in a virtual reality. The fact that that awareness exists is a much healthier, a much more holistic concept of understanding the point of life, much more healthy system to understand what are we doing. So yes, the fact that you're aware tells you that you've got something else that goes deeper and deeper into other dimensions. So your body, we talk of the physical body as being very dense or very slowed up, the frequency or the vibration is very slow. So the awareness is very low. But as awareness within this body, we have all reached the level where we're questioning, what's the point of life? What are we doing in these physical bodies? Andrew, that's a brilliant question. If we're all getting to that point where we're asking, is this the point of life? I wake up, go to work, come back, sleep, and we're thinking that's so the awareness we have raised as an entire planet of people. We've raised our awareness to such a degree that we no longer fit here. We no longer there's nothing more to experience here. We are readying ourselves to leave.
Hopefully, when I wake up, I'll be some sort of multi-millionaire with the, you know what I mean? Better than this reality. I was a multi-millionaire living like some Trump life, and I just wanted to see how the common folk live. So that's what I'm hoping. And I wake up, I've got a Rolls Royce outside and all that.
Full on material. We're going to exploit the lowest possible dimension to the fullest of what's life. I mean, that's crazy.
Just to make myself feel better when I wake up. Yeah.
You know what, you've done it how many times? You've done it in your previous lives and in your previous bodies and on previous planes. How many times we've experienced that material level of existence to its fullest? Yes, you have.
So when people talk about God, here's one thing. Like now I'm talking about, like, because if it is a virtual reality, I mean, someone's put you in, they put you through all this pain and torture and everything like that. So when people are saying like, do you know, God, and are they talking about their own, what do you call it? If you're in the virtual reality, what do you call the person who's outside the virtual reality? That's you. Would that be your God?
No.
They control everything you do, and they made you, if you like, and it's weird.
Okay, they didn't make you.
Right.
Let's just get that straight. That's a story that's being told. We were created by the Anunnaki. Yes, these bodies were created by the Anunnaki. Our spirit was not created by the Anunnaki. So when you want to have a look, this is also what would help people learn to maybe get a bit more peace, is while they might have created the physical body, somebody created the physical body. Who created the spirit? Then you have to ask yourself, okay, who created the soul? And then you have to ask yourself, okay, so who created the super soul? And then you can also ask yourself, there's another aspect to that, who created or what created God, or was God? So this story, when you're talking of God, or what is God, or where is God, or I don't want to get into too much of that. That's quite a big subject now, as to the hierarchy as to where God fits in, because the creator, you have to think about it. Let me just give a quick overview here. Creator, when we understand the term create means to make something physical, material, three-dimensional. However, we know that there are dimensions higher than the material, physical, three-dimensional form world. So then you have to ask yourself, okay, so if the creator created the material things, who created the dimensions above that and above that and above that? So then you have to start asking yourself, okay, so this creator, and then we talk of source, is creator and is source the same thing? Now, most people, without thinking and because of the brainwashing that we've had, will tend to say, yes, it's the same thing. But then you have to ask yourself, okay, so then the creator sent his son of God down, his son. So then it says, I and my Father are one. So then you have to ask yourself, okay, so that physical being called Jesus, then you have the Christ aspect, Jesus, the Christ. I don't like saying it's Jesus or Christ. They're two very different concepts. Then you have to ask yourself, and take it in any philosophy. Obviously, I'm going to use this because the bulk of the viewing public of this are Western. But even in their own philosophies, in their own cultures, ask yourself, where are these different levels? Is source, the original source, the same thing as the creator? And just do a bit of searching, just do a bit of digging, and you'll quickly start to realize they're not the same thing, to help people understand, well, where do I fit in, and who created me, and what did I come through? And, well, you know, the Pleiadians created me, the Anunnaki created me, the whoever created me. But look, creation defines physical three-dimensional form. Now, okay, so who created the spirit worlds? And where do the spirit worlds come from? Were they created? I mean, consciousness, was consciousness created? So then did the creator create consciousness? Or was consciousness there before the creator?
What if this is all a trick, Holger? And say 50 years from now, they've got something so advanced that it can plug into your brain, and you can, it'll be like a second life, but you won't be able to tell any different, and it'll be brilliant, you know. So people have chosen, what if, like, it's another film as well by Bruce Willis, where they're all in the bedrooms with a virtual reality headsets on. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Well, him and his wife don't speak in normal life. They only speak in virtual reality, and it's got that far that everyone is just living in virtual reality all the time. Now, imagine if you went to a big centre and they said to you, right, you pay your money, you join in, this is the newest thing we've got, you know, and then it's a big trick, and it ends up like the Matrix, you know, where it's AI controlling all these computers. Because if it was so good in this AI, why would you want to live a normal life? So everyone would be in the machines, wouldn't they? Well, imagine if 50% of humans started using this machine, then it'd leave a lot less people to speak to. And say it got further down the line and a lot more people were using it. Just like mobile phones, let's say, like now you can't really speak to people because they've always got the face in mobile phones. Now, it's obviously people are going that way, where they'd rather live in a reality where it's all made up, like Facebook and Instagram. Everyone knows people are lying on there. They're pretending they're happy when they're not. And it's just sad, really, when you think it is going that way, where we're going to live in virtual reality soon.
No, that's a story that's told. That's not true. Just look at the word AI, the abbreviation AI. It stands for artificial intelligence. Notice what the word is. It goes to intelligence. Now, intelligence does not limit us to a physical dimension. It does not limit us to a physical body. The fact that it's intelligence defines that we are outside of the form world. So no, we are not going to be put back into another simulator that's going to generate us into another body. No, artificial intelligence is this machine that's, or whatever you want to call that concept, that's going to control that world. But if you realize in all my videos, the string through all my videos, I'll keep going and I keep saying it, we are about consciousness. Consciousness is another word for intelligence. Like, it goes higher, but the point is it goes beyond the form world. So maybe to help ease a few people's pains and questions is intelligence, which the Pleiadians are consciousness, is non-form. So going back, if you can extract yourself out of material existence, you will free yourself. That's how we free ourselves, when we realize we are not material, but we are intelligence or consciousness. When you can take yourself back to your original state, we get out of this place. That's the stuff they don't want to tell us.
And go back to our bodies.
Why would you go back to your body? Because your body,
Well, where would we go from this place? That's what I mean, sorry.
What do you want to experience? It all comes down to what you want to experience. According to what you experience, you will choose your body. But the point of origin is, what do I want to experience? You look through the brochures, the holiday brochures. We're all working so hard for the holiday brochures. I'd like to go to this place, I'd like to go to that place, I'd like to go to that place. Guess what we do when we rock up there? We buy the traditional clothing of that place. So we give ourselves the body of that place. So in the original thing, we are thinking, we are comprehending, we are conscious as to I want to experience. Because I want to experience, I then generate, I create, or the super soul and the spirit creates that body, the real I. That creates the body appropriate for that experience you wish to go through. That's how you get your next body. It depends on what you want to experience. If you want to experience a lot of wealth, then go down to a place that has wealth, and that's called the material plane. If you want to experience wealth and riches and fame.
So I'm thinking you just think this, what you want to do, and it happens.
You're not using the intellect of this material plane. For those who can get there, can we comprehend ourselves outside of the material plane of existence?
I get you. Yeah. So it's something we can't comprehend because, I understand.
So we're limiting our own thoughts because of our brainwashing of this place around ourselves.
It'd be like someone coming out of a coma, wouldn't it? And having and just remembering everything about the past life and
a clean slate. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. If we can get to that point where we are not conditioned that I've only got, this is the full existence. If we can get outside of that where we realize this is not all that there is, but I can be consciousness, then you've got a chance of getting out of this place. So it all comes down to, we often talk, when we talk of communicating or relating to people, do we talk with the head or do we talk with the heart? Now that's if people just comprehend that that's the core of what determines where we're going. Your head is going to rationalize everything. It's going to work it out all out and work it out in logical order. Whereas the heart, your original core, your original essence, your original state, your original being, whatever you want to call it, the heart, if you can just relate to, well, how am I really? You close your eyes at night and you think, what am I like as a true me? You can say as a person, what am I like as the true me? What would I love to do for this universe? What would I love to do for this planet? Then you're getting in touch with your heart. And from that level, if you can create that, you will go accordingly. And if you can start living out of that, you will start going onto that plane. And that's where you start generating and you start trying to live this life. You start giving, you start being kind to people, you start helping. You start enlightening people. You start improving life around you to help everybody. If you can start thinking like that, you will realize I'm coming from my heart. And your heart essence, your heart consciousness is very different from your mind consciousness. They're two different levels. So those who want to rationalize it, I want to be rich, I want to be famous, I want to be wealthy, I want to be powerful, I want to be beautiful. That person is choosing to limit themselves to the physical dimension. Then they don't want to get off the physical world. They want to stay here. So guess what? You're going to come back in your next life and they're going to enjoy experience, positive and negative, that material three-dimensional world. WTF files. And the title of the video within that website is called, Are We Living in a Multi-Layered, Hand-Fed Mental Delusion? That will free a lot of people. So he's got fabulous stuff. It's a 27-minute video, so it's not an excessively long video like mine. But we are plugged into that. We, because of our negative energy, we are helping bring those nasties through. It's not them. Yes, there's something controlling it, but because AI and the human has become so integrated, it's not just that AI or whoever is controlling AI is solely responsible for this. We are responsible for it. And in that, we in turn can undo what's happening now, and we can reverse that energy to a healthier, happier place. If we would think happier thoughts, if we would generate a more healthy environment consciousness, vibration, whatever you want to call it, we are generating all this nonsense. We are helping.
Right. Thank you very much, Holger. Thanks a lot for joining us. And we'll be back soon with you, hopefully.
Andrew, thank you. Yes, I do appreciate it. Thank you for your time.